Hello everyone, it's your host, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with another exciting live stream. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about February 23rd, 2019. Today is February 24th, 2019. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. When you jump into that live chat, feel free to tell me how your day is going today. If you have any questions for your boy, and if you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream. Give me one moment to get the stream set up. That way we can all hang out and have a good time. Right now, I'm planning on turning on a SoundCloud playlist that SoundCloud automatically makes. That's called the upload. Well, now it's called SoundCloud Weekly. Give me one moment. It says that the signal's bad, but I have Wi-Fi on. I don't know why the signal's bad for the stream. I apologize if you're having any connection errors or anything like that. Yo, Rocky, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Rocky, how's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Right now, I'm getting the tag set up for the video as well as the description. Boom, 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 boom. I'm gonna be listening to SoundCloud Weekly. SoundCloud Weekly is a playlist of songs that's automatically created by SoundCloud every week based off of your listening history. I always like to listen to it and try and figure out what were the best songs for each week, and then make them into their own playlist, which I then listen to throughout the week. Okay, so I'm gonna start playing that now. I have headphones on. I don't have headphones on. I see. I'm about to have headphones on. It's not that I didn't have them on, I didn't have them plugged in. That was a hard cut. Real quick, has it refreshed yet? It has not. So even though it's technically Monday, the new SoundCloud Weekly isn't out. When that song started, I was like, oh, I've already heard this song. Rocky Ford said, great. Glad to hear that you're having a great day today. He said, what is your favorite Yu Gi Oh archetype? I've been asked this question before. When it comes to favorite Yu Gi Oh archetype, I really liked Metal Foes back in the day. Um, because I thought it was interesting that Metal Foes had a field play spell card that made them unaffected by like monster effects or whatever. But I wouldn't say that's my favorite archetype. The only archetype that I really play in real life that I have like a physical deck for is Felgrand, which is about special summoning monsters from the graveyard, specifically dragons, in order to activate special effects. That's cool, but I don't know. I don't really play Felgrand anymore, nor do I really play physical Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. When I first got into Yu-Gi-Oh, my favorite archetype was the Hunter family, which are a bunch of Thunder type monsters that are used for XYZ summoning. They're essentially an engine where if you normal summon one, you can normal summon another, and then use them to special summon an Xyz monster. Um, but I'm really not sure what my favorite archetype would be now. I really like Stall, um, and I really like mixing things together. So when it comes to making a deck, I don't always stick by only using cards within like an archetype. I try to like mix whatever cards I think synergize well together and then try to make something out of it. What I currently play a lot when playing online is Empowered Warrior, but it's not a true Empowered Warrior deck. It's a combo deck that focuses on a few Empowered Warrior cards, but I don't think it's how that archetype was originally meant to be played at all. And it's just kind of like my interpretation of how a set of cards work together. Rocky Ford said, Nick, you are so cool. Thank you kindly. I appreciate it. He said, and can you talk about the Yu Gi Oh video games? Sadly, there's not a lot about the Yu Gi Oh video games I can really talk about because I've just never really played them. I've played a little bit of Duel Links, like on mobile phone, and Duel Links is like to me. I don't like the idea of not having access to all of the cards because I've gotten spoiled by things like Dueling Book and Dueling Nexus and Dueling Network before that just give you access to all of the cards, where Duel Links limits the cards, and also it's like a different format, and you have to play it on your phone, so you can't just play it on your computer. I just feel like Duel Links isn't as good as the other things. Then Dueling Book is really cool because you can make custom cards and you can do custom card duels. I like that, but I don't like the fact that you can't set it up in a way to where it's automated, where the computer understands the rules and there's no way for your opponent to cheat. I would appreciate if Dueling Book had something like that, but especially with custom card format, I understand that that would be incredibly difficult to implement, and I'd say almost impossible to implement actually. So I totally understand why Dueling Book isn't automated, especially with custom cards. And then with Dueling Nexus, I'd probably have to say that's my favorite online Yu-Gi-Oh like gaming site because of the fact that it is automated. You don't have to worry about your opponent cheating. I'd love it if they had some form of like custom cards to where you can make your own cards that have their own effects. But I feel like that might be difficult to implement, and I totally understand if they wouldn't want to go that route. So all in all, when it comes to like Yu-Gi-Oh games, I would say Dueling Nexus is on top, followed by Dueling Book, followed by Duel Links. Dueling Book is pretty good because it has the custom card, so I could see it almost being first place. So I mean, it really depends. Let's see. Kel said there's a new Yu-Gi-Oh game coming out soon, so that's cool. What's the new Yu-Gi-Oh game based off of? Is it based off of Vrains? Is it based off of like an older series? Is it a combination of the different series stories? Like, how does the new game work? I guess I have some questions. Dozer said, didn't Kirby cheat on Dueling Nexus though? So it's not that Kirby cheated. I know what you're talking about. So I played a game with Kratos before, where we went like a couple rounds, and Kratos, in order to try and like get a leg up, in the last round changed his deck. Even though we were like doing like runbacks and rematches, he changed to a deck specifically to counter mine. Yeah, and Dozer was like, "That's not cool," and I mean, I feel like he did do it dirty, but I don't hold it against him too hard. At the time, I definitely was like, that's not cool. But I still played the duel out. I didn't like just stop playing or anything. So I couldn't have minded like too much. I didn't appreciate it, but I wasn't like, I'm just not going to play or anything like that. Let's see. Rocky Ford said, Nick, have you played Soul Calibur? So I actually used to own a Dreamcast when I was younger, which is one of the last, it's not one of, it is the last Sega console that ever like dropped. And on that, I had like the original Soul Calibur for Dreamcast. I used to play it as a kid, but as a kid, I didn't really like fighting games, so I would play it on occasion, but I wasn't super into it. Your boy Colin has Soul Calibur 6, and we've played that a good bit. Dozer has some Soul Calibur games, and I played Soul Calibur in early college a little bit when Lance had brought over Soul Calibur to one of the YouTube club meetings, and I faced off against him in that. I actually prefer Tekken over Soul Calibur. They're very different games, but they're made by the same company. Soul Calibur focuses on weapon fighting. Tekken focuses on like hand to hand fighting and stuff like that. And I feel like I prefer the feel and flow of Tekken to Soul Calibur's like weapon combat. Though I do like the customization system in Soul Calibur, though I feel like it's somewhat limited because you're essentially just creating a custom version of a pre-existing character rather than being able to create like a totally new character with a totally different moveset. It's closer to like Mortal Kombat variations, like what's about to come in Mortal Kombat 11, except much more depth with what you can do with the appearance and size of the character. Let's see. Kel said a lot of people actually like that Dueling Book isn't automated. Interesting. Why is that? And then Dozer said Kratos, yeah. And then Rocky Four said, Nick, are you still in college or no? I am still in college. This is my last semester, so I graduate this semester. Let's see. Uh, I just got out of the shower like a little bit ago. So I now have the description set, so that's good, and I have the video tagged. So I think it's about time for me to start talking about the video. Not talking about the video, talking about my day. Keep in mind, I feel like something stuck in my throat. I realized like after I got back from my date that I haven't been drinking water today. I played Lego Worlds with Ryan for like 8 hours, and I don't think I drank like any water, and I definitely didn't eat any food because I only eat once a day. Then I went on my date, and I had like Oreo hot chocolate, and then I had like a Sprite, and then my throat was just fucking dying when I mean fucking dying is an exaggeration. It felt dry, but it felt suddenly dry. It didn't feel like it built up to being dry. I just remember I like coughed some mucus, and then once that mucus was gone, my throat was like, I have no lubrication whatsoever. And I'm like, ah. So I've been drinking a bunch of water. I already finished this bottle. Now I'm on to the bigger red bottle, so I need more water. Dozer said, enough Lego worlds, dude. You're gonna die. I don't think I'm gonna die. I just need to make sure I drink water. Rocky Ford, I see your message. One of those names I feel like I'm gonna butcher. So Rocky Ford said, my favorite Tekken characters are Jin. I feel like I know who this person is. And I feel like if I heard their name out loud, I could say it. But I just don't know how to pronounce it the way it's written. Hwang? Hwarang? Ho 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 Haworang? I know it. I know it's not that, but I'm like trying to read it. It's just not working. Kazuya, Yoshimitsu, Heihachi, um, Lily, and Law. Is it Horong? It's something like that. I know that I like. I feel like I know who it is, but I just don't know how to say that name. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kel said people like it because they like that you actually have to know how to play, and it's a lot closer to in real life Yu-Gi-Oh. Excuse me. I like it because you don't have to like worry about your opponent cheating. Because I feel like in real life, what makes Yu-Gi-Oh slow is having to like stop and read your opponent's cards, not because you don't have like a good idea of what the effect does, but because you're trying to make sure that they like don't cheat. You know what I mean? um, Even if you trust the other player, cheating can just happen by accident, where someone like misinterprets like what a card's effect is and stuff like that. And I like the idea of Dueling Nexus allowing for faster paced gameplay because I know that regardless of what you're doing, you're not cheating. And Dueling Nexus will tell me like when I'm able to react to your cards versus when I'm not. So I'm not worrying as much about like having to think out when I need to react and to what because I know that Dueling Nexus helps me with that. I just feel like it's a more streamlined way of playing the game. But I understand where you're coming from because I guess with Dueling Book, you can it's more about playing around your opponent in Dueling Book than it is in Dueling Nexus, where it is more focused on understanding just how your deck works. Because in Dueling Nexus, you can focus a lot more on just doing what your deck is supposed to do, where in Dueling Book, the focus is on that, but it's also heavily on like what is your opponent doing and making sure that your opponent's doing it correctly, but also making sure that like you react at the right times. Also, my favorite character in Tekken is Law. I pretty much just play Law. I like how Law feels. When I play fighting games, a lot of times I don't look at command lists. I like to start by knowing just what the basic buttons are, and then experiment as I play. And whatever I can really like feel out is like the moves that I remember and can like keep in my head. So if you ask me like how do you do such and such move, I may not be able to like tell you how I do it, but I can demonstrate it like in a game. And I feel like Law just feels really natural. I feel like I understand what I'm doing with Law on like a muscle memory like type of stance. And I feel like the fluidity of like playing with Law and playing Law against like different people is interesting. And I like to get better with Law over time, so I mainly just play Law. Let's see. Kel said, quote, I have no lubrication. End quote, Jet 2019. That is a true quote. I did say that. Let's see. Rocky Forest said, how wrong? How wrong? How wrong? I'm gonna Google it because I know that's the name, but I want to now see the face. This is such a weird name. How is it? How Wong? Tekken. Oh, I've seen him before. I don't see him. Oh, I saw two different pictures of him. The thing with the jacket is the image I remember. The other image I saw was him wearing like this orange and black thing, which honestly looks a lot cooler. But the jacket over the shoulder, yeah, I've seen him before. I've never really played him. What's he like? Well, I don't really play anybody really except Law, so I understand. Rocky Ford said, Nick, do you like dancing? I do like dancing. Whenever I go to like a nightclub or something, or I go to like a frat party, I don't go to frat parties a lot. I've only been to like three different frat parties, and one I can barely say I went to. I walked in, danced for a bit, realized it wasn't that kind of party, and left. Um, but I went to a frat party a couple days ago, if not just. It wasn't yesterday. It had to be Friday. I went to a frat party Friday, and I danced until like 2 a.m. So I like to go there and like just dance. Um, I really enjoy dancing, and I kind of just make up moves as I go. I feel like that's part of the fun. I like just going as hard as possible. A lot of times making it like an endurance thing. So yeah, I enjoy dancing. I dig it. Kel said I don't agree with those people though. I was just explaining how at least most people see it. I think Nexus and YGO Pro is more fun. I only use Dueling Book for custom cards. Same. I only really use Dueling Book for custom cards. Kel said, by the way, did you see my answers to your questions to my Sugar V post? Just wanted to make sure you got them. I actually may not have seen your answers for the Sugar V post yet. I don't think I have. So I'll need to tune into Amino, hopefully after I go over my day, and then look at those questions. Well, not those questions, those answers to those questions. Rocky Ford said, Nick, have you played YGO Pro? I have not. So I have a Chromebook, and I have like a Windows laptop. The Windows laptop I don't use except to like edit videos, and I want it to be my work laptop when I enter like the professional like sphere. So I don't put a lot of stuff on it because I would prefer not to, so it can be used explicitly for work. So because I use the Chromebook for everything, the Chromebook can't really like install things that don't work for Chrome OS. And most things are made for like Windows OS or for like Apple's OS or Linux. And I just can't play most things on my Chromebook. Apparently, there is a YGO Pro that's made for Chrome OS, but I'm suspicious of it and I kind of don't want to download it. Kirby showed it to me and I'm still like, I don't know. I don't want to trust it. Let's see. Rocky Ford said, Nick, I have PlayStation Virtual Reality. So what do you think of PlayStation VR? Because I personally don't own it. Um, I don't think there's a big enough library of games for PSVR that I'm interested in that I feel like would be worth the price of buying it. So do you think PSVR is worth buying? And if so, why? Then Kel said Nick can't get YGO Pro because he uses the devices that could get it on for work. Yeah. And then Rocky Ford said, cool. Real quick, I'm going to drink a little bit more water. Ah. Also, is Dozer still here? I just noticed I haven't seen Dozer in the live chat. Rocky Ford said, I got it for Christmas. Oh, congratulations. What are your thoughts on the system so far? And what games do you have for it? So I always like to talk about what I dreamed last night as like one of the first things. But today I don't remember what I dreamed about. Ryan called me and woke me up. I don't remember what I was dreaming about. I slept through all my alarms, but luckily Ryan left the house late. I still ended up keeping Ryan waiting as I had to exercise and shower before he could come by. Ryan and I played Lego Worlds for 8 hours without eating. Like, neither of us ate any food. I also didn't drink any water, but I didn't realize that until later. I really enjoy creating really tough to invade bases and seeing Ryan try his best in order to break in. I feel like bombs are a little too OP though for raiding a base because whenever Ryan would come into one of my bases and I had like a bunch of like skeletons that would spawn for him to fight and I had like these flaming like turnstiles where if you're not careful you get hit by these blades of fire and then with multiple of them and with multiple like flame turnstiles like next to each other. I think they're just called flame traps. But with multiple flame traps next to each other, spinning in different directions, you just have to be really careful to try and like dodge them. And if not, you'll just get sliced and thrown around all over the place. But Ryan, instead of dealing with the obstacles, would just throw bombs. And I can't just make my stuff bomb proof. So he can just kind of get through any of the obstacles I put up by just blowing them up, but I feel like that takes away from the fun. I feel like it takes so long for me to like set up all those traps and hazards and obstacles, and then it takes so little time for him to just blow it up with a bomb. And I feel like it would be more entertaining to watch him actually have to like maneuver his way through it. I think that'd be pretty dope. Kel said, if you do get a chance to get YGO Pro, I recommend getting YGO Pro Percy. It's the one that most people use. Why is YGO Percy Sorry, why is YGO Pro Percy the one that most people use um, versus the other ones? And what about the other ones make people not use them as much? Every time I drink water, I am not satisfied. It's not like I take a sip of the water and I'm like, my throat's less dry. I take a sip of the water and I go, I now have less water and my throat doesn't feel any better. I almost feel like the water is going down my windpipe instead of going down my throat. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm choking or anything. That's what normally happens when it goes down your windpipe. It just feels like my throat's not getting any of the water. I don't get it. Kel said, I don't know He said, I don't know why exactly. 90% of people just use Percy. Interesting. Is there like a poll? Like, I guess my next question is, how do people know that everybody uses Percy? um, where was I? Oh yeah. So I went on my date with Kelsie. I essentially like got ready, hung out with Ryan, got ready for my date, went on my date. So I went on my date with Kelsie. I would say that if I had to describe the date in one word, I would say it felt very reserved. Dinner and a movie dates don't really allow for you and your date to talk much. Due to that, I feel like I didn't have a lot of opportunity to truly express myself and show my personality. Um, so I don't know. I feel like the date could have been better if we had like more opportunities to talk and to really get to like know each other. I feel like I learned a lot more about her, but I feel like I didn't get a good chance to like put my best foot forward, and now I don't really know how like she feels about the date. Cause I feel like if I was in her shoes, I'd be like I didn't really learn anything. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Rocky Ford said, I have Gran Turismo Sport, Tekken 7, Creed Rise to Glory, Firewall Zero Hour, Farpoint, Star Trek Bridge Crew, PSVR demo games, and Super Shot. Oh, wait, sorry. Super Hot. Super Hot. So I guess my question to you would be which of those is your favorite PSVR game to play on PSVR? And which is your least favorite PSVR game to play on PSVR out of that list? Kel said, I can tell because almost all YGO Twitch streams are on Percy and most YouTubers use it. Interesting. It sounds like it's definitely popular for people who like stream. Um, I doubt there's any streaming restrictions on any of the other ones. I was about to say, for game streaming, it's kind of weird because there are some games that just say, like, no, like, you can't stream me. But I don't think any of the YGO Pro things are doing that. I have that issue with Xenoverse. Uh, Xenoverse 2 doesn't let me stream it on PS4. It's like if you had a Twitch account, you could stream it on Twitch, but I don't. So it's like, well, you only have YouTube, so you can't stream Xenoverse 2. And it's really gross. Um, so I had a theory, but then I debunked my own theory. I'm like, there's no way that the other YGO pros are just like restricting it. Um, what else was I thinking about? The date. Yeah. So on the date, I did learn a few interesting things about Kelsie that I didn't expect. So Kelsie actually is really into superheroes, which I didn't know. She's into superhero movies and TV shows, focusing heavily on Marvel. Danica is also really into superhero movies and TV shows, focusing on Marvel. But Danica also is really into like comics, and I feel like the comic book aspect is where me and Danica like really like get in sync, and we can like get into like really deep discussions. When it comes to like Marvel movies, I do watch all the Marvel movies, so I'm not completely lost on them. But there are definitely things that die-hard Marvel movie fans know way more about than I do. I did feel like when she would talk about different like elements and hidden things in Marvel movies, I just wasn't able to like vibe on the same level because I just don't have that like same level of exposure and experience that she does. And then I refrained from talking too much about comic books because I know that she's not like super into like the comic side of it, which is where like I really like come from. Apparently, she also only eats once a day, which I was really surprised by because that's just not what most people do. So, and a lot of times when I hit someone up with "I only eat once a day," they're like, "What?" When I hit her up with "I only eat once a day," she was like, "Yeah, I do too." I was like, "Huh," you know, that was just kind of different. Uh, she also lives on campus as well and doesn't have a car as well. Like we have interesting things in common, which would make sense for us to like go on dates. Dragon Ball Superfan 1010 says, "Sup Jet, hashtag best streamer." Thank you kindly, Dragon Ball Superfan. Truly appreciate it. Three questions for you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on stream? Kel said, "It seems like you guys are soulmates." I don't know about that because it was really hard to get a vibe going. So, I guess what I mean by get a vibe going is when I hang out with Maddie, it's really easy for me to just like jump in and immediately just be me to like the fullest extent of me. Same thing when I like hang out with like Aiden, me and Aiden have like a really solid rapport. When I hang out with Aiden, I just like jump straight into it. I try to be as friendly as possible as I can to strangers. I like smile and like wave. But I do feel like the amount of like how relaxed I can be around people is different depending on who I'm around. And I feel like the more time I spend with someone and really get to talk with them, the more relaxed I feel. You know what I mean? Um, so I feel like when I hang out with Aiden, I'm immediately like in like my most relaxed state and I can be like the full me. I always try to be the full me, but I feel like knowing more about the other person and like really talking with them helps to like build that out. Um, so I just feel like when I was on the date with Kelsie, we have like a good amount in common. Um, but at the same time, I never felt like I was just being as me as I could. Kel said, "I'm having vibe problems too with this one guy I know." Yo, Kels, if you don't mind talking about it, I like to hear about it because I feel like we could both talk about our situations and maybe like brainstorm a little bit. I feel like if I have a second date with Kelsie, I'll try and make it a kind of date where we can just like chill out, relax, talk about superheroes, and be in like a setting where we can actually like discuss and express ourselves and like have a good time to where we can both like learn about each other and really feel out how we normally behave. Because I can't tell if Kelsey's just somewhat of a reserved person or if she was also in a situation where she felt like she couldn't really express herself because she felt somewhat reserved, but not like in a bad way. Um, and I just don't know what her interpretation of the date was. Normally, I ask people after hangouts, like, how was the hangout? What would you give it out of 10? Did you have fun? Blah, 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 blah. What could I do to improve? But the last time I did something like that, it was at a job interview and it was like a panel interview with like two different people. And one of the people in the interview said, "Well, you were doing great until you like asked that question." Like it was a hard like sass thing, and it was like a female interviewer or whatever. And I guess that experience made me during like the Kelsey date decide, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't ask her because maybe she'll turn around and be like, "Well, it was a great date until you asked me," and then But I feel like in hindsight, I should have just asked her anyways because most of the time when I ask people, how was the time and what could I have done better and how did you enjoy it? People normally just give an honest answer and then I learn from it. Some people say, I don't like rating things or I prefer uh, to just not give a rating. That's cool too. But I guess that response was like such a like hard like uh that I just didn't want to like ask her that question and then have her have that kind of response. But I think I should. I think I should ask her what her thoughts were on the date and if she would be interested in maybe having a second date where we could like talk more. Birdman said, "Hey Gambino, just checking in," and did a thumbs up emoji. Yo, Birdman, how's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on stream? Kel said, "The guy found out that I had a big homo. And he said, "It's okay. I can help you find a man. I know a guy." And the way he said, "I know a guy," was giving me vibes that he was interested in me. Oh, interesting. So I would say just ask the dude if he's interested in you. That's pretty much it. I feel like the best way to get information is to just be really direct about it because I don't feel like you lose anything by it. If anything, I'm explaining a situation where I wasn't direct about like how did Kelsie enjoy the date? Like I didn't ask her. So now I just don't know. So I would say just ask him, Kels. I feel like that just would be a good idea. Mm. Ah, my throat is so dry. It's really annoying that my throat is so dry. But Kels, my advice would be to ask him. Kirby said, "That's Portal Craft finished." Yo, Kirby, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. I see you're playing some Shadowverse. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on stream? Give me one moment. I'm going to try and play some music in the background. My throat is super dry. I apologize. Hopefully, this isn't something that I wake up with. I feel like this would be really annoying to first wake up and your throat be super dry. Ah. Right now, there's a GoDaddy commercial. I'm waiting to skip it. This is the same music I played yesterday. Okay, let's see. Kel said, "But I can't just ask him because if he's straight, that'll be super weird because we have track and field practice." Well, I feel like it doesn't hurt to ask, but maybe don't phrase it as, "Are you interested in me?" Maybe phrase it as, it really depends on the person, I guess. Do you feel like, I don't think it should really matter. As long as it comes from a place of like honest curiosity, right? Like you don't mean anything bad by it. I think your tone of voice should like sell like how you feel about the question, and hopefully they won't take offense. I was about to say it depends on the person, but I feel like as long as you're being as genuine as possible with the way that you like approach him with it, I feel like he'd be fine. So I would say maybe one thing you could ask first is like, "What's your sexuality?" Which seems like a loaded question, but not really. Because I feel like asking that will allow you to know more about like the real question you want to ask. Because if the answer is straight, then you know that they're like not interested in you. There you go. Now, you could also ask another indirect question. I actually don't like indirect questions, by the way. I think it's a lot better to just go straight up to someone and ask them direct questions. But at least with these indirect questions, there might be more comfortable ways to ask them and still kind of get the same answer. You could ask him a question like, you know, "Who are you currently interested in?" And if he hits you up and is like, "Well, I'm currently interested in," and then like mentions like a dude, then maybe you'd be like, "Oh, okay," and like you could feel it out, and then lead into, "Are you interested in like me?" And then like see where it goes from there. You know what I mean? Um, so if you don't want to straight up ask him if he's interested in you, you could ask him who he is interested in, and you can ask him like his sexuality, and just see how that goes. But I feel like you should do whatever you feel you're most comfortable with, um, and just be yourself. And then Kirby said, "Is Shirk Dash Haunted free to play?" What is Shirk Dash Haunted? Excuse me. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Um, oh, so when it comes to the date with Kelsie, um, I'm gonna give like some pros and cons. So pros, I really like that she's into like superhero stuff, even though it's like Marvel television and movie superheroes, which is probably the farthest off thing that you could pick, other than like indie superhero comics. Uh, because I read some Marvel comics, but I mostly read DC comics, and I watch all the Marvel movies, but I'm not like a diehard fan, and I don't watch most of the Marvel TV shows. So she can hit me up with information that just goes over my head, and I just won't understand what the fuck's happening, like at all. So her not having the comics thing is kind of weird, but at the same time, it means that if we're at least both interested in what each other are talking about, that we can both try and like dive into different topics and compare the things that we do know. Like that could lead into interesting stuff. So I'm glad that she's into superheroes. Her only eating once a day, I think, is really interesting because since we both only eat once a day, we could try to maybe like have dates where we both understand that we're only gonna eat once, so we like try to eat together. Um, and I've it's just interesting because when going on dates with like Maddie or Gabby, like before, they both really didn't like the fact that I only ate once a day, and they wanted to be able to like eat together. Like they felt like it was like a problem that I only ate once a day. But because she also only eats once a day, it just works. It's just like, oh, cool. We're both on the same wavelength, and we understand that like it's just like a more convenient thing to do, so that can just like work out. Um, she wants to stay in the area, so she's really into like the Huntsville vibe. And with the whole SMAP thing, I may be able to stay in the area. Plus, I do say that I like Huntsville. I like the fact that things are getting nerdy. People are like more into comics and fighting games here than they were before, or at least as far as I was aware of before. And we're just growing this big nerd cybersecurity community, and I love that. So she wants to stay in the area, so hopefully that's something that I could do. I think that'd be cool. Um, so, do I have another pro to throw up that's not like a basic pro? I like redheads, which I think is a basic pro. I'm not gonna put that on the list. I think that's kind of lame. I'd say cons would just be that we didn't really get a good chance to talk. Also, another pro, we live like in the same dorm. Like if she ever wanted to just hang out on a whim, we just could, and she doesn't drive, so she's just gonna be on campus most of the time. So I don't know. I feel like it would just be really easy for us to, whenever we wanted to, just like hang out or go on a date or just like spend time together, which I think would be dope. But I just feel like the main thing is I just need to talk to her more. I just need to like try and build that connection. Kirby said first word is an artist and the second word is the song title. So is Shirk Dash Haunted free to play? Are you asking like is that song like copyright free? Like is that what you're getting at? Like is it like a royalty free song? Because I'm not sure. I guess my question to you would be, why do you feel like that song's free to play? Then Kel said, I have a great idea. I just walk up to him randomly and say, want a bone fam? And he said, I don't think I can ask a personal question like, what's your sexuality? Because right now we're only associates, not full on friends. So I understand what you mean. That can feel like kind of a prying question. Um, I think I am having trouble giving advice just because I don't think I've ever been in a similar situation. The closest thing is sometimes when I approach a girl, instead of going, hey, do you want to go out sometime? I'm a very direct person. Sometimes instead of going, hey, do you want to go out sometime? I go, are you single? It kind of gives an idea of your intention ahead of time without necessarily like showing all your cards. And their answer directly affects the rest of like the conversation, like where that will go, right? So I understand what you mean that it's like a sensitive topic and you don't want to say something that will like offend him or make him like feel weird or uncomfortable. Um, and it's hard to necessarily say just to preface it because some people whenever they preface it it can sound worse, like to go like, hey, the next thing I'm going to say I don't mean to like offend or like make you feel uncomfortable, and then you go into it. Sometimes just by saying that it makes someone already feel like they're uncomfortable, like instead of putting their guards up they feel like more sensitive. So I don't know. I do feel like I don't know what the best course of action would be. I would just recommend that you like be yourself, uh, do or say whatever you feel is like most comfortable in the time, and don't feel like you have to like rush into it. Don't feel like you're on a timetable to determine like what you want to know. Just whenever you feel like it is the right moment to ask in whatever way feels the most comfortable to you, and just like be yourself. Don't try to like do anything that you wouldn't do. So I feel like that's the best advice that I can give for that particular subject. And then Kirby said yes. Kirby said he is an indie computer music artist. Um, I guess I would have to look it up and see if it said it. Most of the time, Kirby, if it's something that is like royalty free or copyright free, people like to put it in the title of the video. I just typed in Kirby. I didn't type in Shirk. Hold on. So Shirk Haunted, and then copyright free. What? So I guess I'm confused. So Shirk Haunted is royalty free dubstep. I think the only reason why I wouldn't play it is because for the streams, I really like the calm lo-fi music. I like that it has a little bit of a beat. You know, you could like kind of groove to it if you wanted to, but it's more of like a chill out feel. I feel like something that's like dubstep is going a little too hard for just like me talking about my day. You know, I don't want to be like talking about my day and then the background's like, you know, like I feel like there's like an odd contrast in tone with that. Um, so I feel like I probably wouldn't want to play dubstep during like a hangout and talking kind of stream. Kel said, I think I should just become friends and then see where things go from there. I mean, true. You know, if that's what you feel like is the best option and you feel like that's what you'd be most comfortable with, and that that's like just how you feel like you should progress, then I'd say, yeah, like go for it. Um, I guess if I was in your situation, which is, I know we're totally different people, so I'm not saying do this. I'm not saying do this at all. But what I would do is I think I'd just be really direct. I feel like I'm very heavy handed with a lot of stuff like that. So if I really wanted to know, I think I would just ask. I'd just be super direct. But if that's not the way that you like go about things, I totally understand that. I feel like you should do whatever feels right to you. Kirby said, "Oh yeah, it's much more heavy than maybe what you're looking for." Understandable. Cal said, "This situation is hard for me because I have feelings for him, and sometimes I overanalyze things to try and figure out A, is he gay or bi, and B, does he like me specifically?" Well, I think that's part of the reason why I would like be so direct, because I feel like it's hard for you to just be yourself if you feel like you're constantly like tiptoeing and trying to read him, you know what I mean? If you just knew how he felt, there wouldn't have to be any tiptoeing and you could just express yourself the way that you want to without necessarily trying to be careful and over analyzing everything that he says. Because if you just already knew the answer, then you could just, you know, kind of vibe. Um, I just feel like I'd rather just be able to vibe and be myself and express myself than to be asking like a bunch of questions in my own head. That's where I am in the Kelsie situation. I feel like if I had just asked her what her thoughts were on the date and if she was interested in a second date, I wouldn't be thinking about right now what were her thoughts on the date and is she interested in a second date. Um, so I do feel like that's just, I feel like I personally made that mistake like tonight. Not saying that you are making any kind of mistake. I feel like it makes sense to take things slow if that's what you feel comfortable with. But I guess when it comes to these kind of things, I'm a little bit of a speed racer. I just like to know. I like to get to my destination and then get ready for whatever the next challenge may be or next thing that I feel like I need to know or I'm interested in knowing. Just be ready with that next question. Um, After the date with Kelsie, I went over to Aiden's and talked with him and Jonathan for a bit. It looks like both Aiden and Jonathan are still watching Mob Psycho 100. I am glad that they enjoyed the show enough to watch more of it. I might even try to watch more of the live action version to see how it holds up. I do end up watching episode 5 of Mob Psycho 100 later on. I'll mention that a little bit later. I messaged Maddie and Danica. Maddie and I had an interesting discussion about friendship, Maddie told me about how one of her friends kind of drifted apart over time and how that made her feel. I thought about Maddie while I was on my date with Kelsie, but that was because we saw Wreck It Ralph 2, which happened to be a movie about two best friends realizing that they had different dreams and learning how to accept that. I told Maddie that no matter what, we'd always still be best friends. We're gonna hang out tomorrow at around like 10:30 a.m. Hopefully, I don't oversleep like I did today. Kels said, I think it's safer for me to take it slow. Thanks for helping me out. No problem, Kels. I'm glad I could help, if I did help. Let's see. Danica also went to go see a movie today. So the whole Wreck It Ralph 2 Maddie conversation came up because I asked her what she thought of like her movie and she asked me about like my movie. So Danica seems to really sympathize with my situation and wishes the best. She recognizes that it can be like a hard thing for like you and a best friend to kind of like drift but still try to like keep the friendship strong and support each other. And I feel like me and Danica are getting into more of like a flirty, more coupley feel of like a vibe, even though we're not like official. While I was hanging out at Aiden's, Max brought up nothing but noodles, and I mentioned that it was Danica's favorite restaurant. I told Danica about it, and I mentioned that she's been like on my mind recently. She said that she was glad that I was on her mind, and I came up with like a really corny response, but she seemed to think it was cute. I feel like Danica and I are hitting it off, but at the same time, because Danica likes to take things slow, which I respect, um, that still means that like my options are open, and that's why I'm still interested in doing things like asking out girls like Kelsie and seeing where that goes. So even though I do really like Danica, and I would like for me and Danica to be like boyfriend and girlfriend, if Danica's not ready to take that step yet, I'm not gonna close myself off from the potential opportunity of asking out other people who I could potentially like more than Danica. It's one of those things where you don't know until you like try it. You know what I mean? Kirby said, I pretty much ended my stream with a D&D roll, total nerd ending. Interesting. You ended your Shadowverse stream with a D&D roll? How did that go? Like, how did you, like, frame the outro as, like, a D&D roll? Ah, gosh. My throat is just still dry. Kel said one last thing. After he said, I know a guy, I said, thanks, man. When I think I should have said, who is he? So you feel like if you had just asked him right then, that maybe he would have hit you up with like the it's me kind of thing? Like he would have just like revealed the answer? Because that would be interesting. Also, Kels, I think I know of a good way for you to like take it slow, but at the same time get an answer quickly. Instead of asking about his sexuality or asking who he's interested in, just ask more about the guy. Just ask about whoever the guy it is that he knows and just try and learn more about him. Talk to him about the guy, and maybe he'll just reveal that he's the guy or just reveal whoever the guy is. It seems like even if he's not the guy, he may just have the hookup for you. It just may just be good anyways. So maybe that's like the best solution. If you just ask more about the guy, I feel like he'd be more than happy to tell you more about the guy because otherwise he wouldn't have said the I know a guy thing before. So I feel like that could be pretty good. What are your thoughts on that? Kirby said after I finished Portalcraft, I had 4 decks left to complete Chapter 1 with. I left the decision to which deck I will play with a D4 roll. I think that's interesting. Like to roll a die to determine it. I also think it would have been cool if it was like a voting based thing. Like if people watching the stream could vote for what deck that you used. I think that'd be cool as well. Ah, ah, my throat just sucks. And then Kirby said I rolled Swordcraft. What are your thoughts on Swordcraft? What is your favorite like archetype right now in Shadowverse or like deck type? Kel said that's a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Well, I didn't think about it either until like a moment ago. So, I mean, sometimes you just gotta think about it from like a different perspective. Now, I guess I'm trying to figure out what would be a different perspective I could do for the Kelsey thing. but I don't really know what it would be. Because my brain's still like, the direct way is always the best. So I'm like, if that's how I feel, then I should just ask her. I told her I was going to text her at some point tomorrow. So I'll probably just text her and just be like, what did you think of the date yesterday? Um, and would you be interested in a second date? I'll just like phrase it like that and just see how she responds. I feel like that'll answer my questions pretty well. If there is some kind of other way I could ask her, maybe I'll dream about it and like come up with an answer. Uh, Kirby said Bloodcraft. So why is Bloodcraft your favorite deck type in Shadowverse so far? Kel said, oh, I just remembered. You need to see my answers to your amino questions. I think for your situation, you should just ask her. Agreed. Um, Real quick before I get into the amino questions, I do have a few more things that like I did today, just a couple, and then I should be able to get into the amino questions. So I got a message back from the head of SMAP. He says that the immediate positions that are available on the arsenal. This means that without a car, I won't be able to work part time. So I'll have to figure something out. Otherwise, I might miss out on a good opportunity to fulfill the scholarship obligation without necessarily having to move. Um, so I'm curious if I could like maybe Uber to work or if there's some carpool that like already exists. I'm going to message the head of SMAP again and ask about any potential solutions that he may have thought about or that he thinks could work. Because I feel with the Arsenal that it may be difficult to have a situation where you Uber there because a lot of times when you get to the Arsenal, you get up to the gate and they let you through, but then after they let you through the gate, you still have to like go a certain ways to get to where you're going, and I don't think they'll let your Uber driver go that full route. So I think it would be a thing where if I got an Uber, the Uber could drop me off and pick me up, maybe from like a certain location. Um, but I don't think the Uber driver could take me all the way to my destination. So it'd be a thing where you got a ride to work and then you still had to walk anyways, like a significant distance. So I don't know. I'll have to figure out something. Fingers crossed. Because right now I think transportation is the only thing that's really in the way of me getting a non-conditional job offer. The email that I sent to the head of SMAP mentioned all this about how like I'm willing to work part time if I can get a full time cybersecurity position starting in the summer, permanent position with SMAP. And his email response didn't say anything about like, no, we can't do this or maybe. All he said was we have to work out transportation. So it seems like as long as I fix the transportation thing, I should be able to potentially still be able to fulfill my scholarship obligation, work for the government, and do what I love without having to move. So we'll have to see. Um, let's see. Kirby said the vengeance keyword and all of the life gain in Bloodcraft makes Bloodcraft very powerful and very survivable. And then he said a close second is Dragoncraft. Could you tell us more about the vengeance keyword and tell us more about what you like about Dragoncraft? I watched episode 5 of the Mob Psycho 100 live action show, and I enjoyed it for the most part. I would like it more if it had like an English dub. So whenever they make like a live action show of an anime, I never necessarily know how to feel until like I really like dig into it. Because I've already seen the first season of Mob Psycho, I was like, oh, well, I've only seen the first few episodes of like the live action show, but I think I can skip around because it's more or less the same show except it's being acted by real people. And I think I'm digging it. The visuals aren't as crazy as the show, but of course not. Their budget isn't infinite, so there are a lot of limitations that are put into that kind of thing. But I do think I'm digging it. I wanted to point this out. Kakeguri has a live action show on Netflix. If you're not familiar with Kakeguri, it's like a high stakes gambling anime where everybody's cheating. Everybody's cheating at gambling, but it's things where it's like if you lose, you're gonna be somebody's actual slave, like stuff like that. Kakeguri is insane, and I would really like to see that as live action, and it is. It's on Netflix. I think someone told me about this before, and I just forgot about it, but I might need to check that out as well. Like I said, I don't really like things where you have to read the screen. I love to write while I watch stuff, so I do feel like it kind of sucks that it's not dubbed. But at the same time, Kakegurui is. I haven't finished Kakegurui, the anime yet, but I would be interested in looking at the live action and seeing how they do it because it is a show that I feel like just works in live action really well. Because while they're doing crazy stuff, it's nothing that's visually crazy. It's something that you could easily just show real people doing. Kirby said vengeance is a keyword that is active when I have 10 or less health, and some cards gain bonuses if vengeance is active. Oh, cool. So it's like a comeback mechanic almost, where when you're like down on your luck, well, down on your health, you could technically, I guess, burn yourself if there are mechanics like that in um, Bloodcraft. I'm not sure. It's been a minute since I played Shadowverse. Um, it seems like a comeback mechanic where when your health is low, it's a way for you to like really like get that boost needed in order to overcome your opponent. Similar to like awakenings and like fighting games and things of that nature. So that seems pretty dope. Um, Also, that was like everything that I did today. Because after that, I like exercised, showered, and I started up the stream. So it's time for me to jump on that amino and look at the answers that Kels gave to the questions about Sugar V. Sugar V is Kels' superpower for a big death battle thing that we're doing. So essentially, uh, me, Kels, and John Mason. Sorry, that was horrible grammar. John Mason, Kels, and I each shared what superpower we would want if we could have any superpower, and then we went into detail on if you had that superpower, what would you use it for? What would you do with it? And now we're trying to form a story where we each face off against each other using our respective superpowers, and give reasons for why we would fight each other and try and debate who we think would win, kind of in like an interactive, collaborative story kind of way. So Kels posted on the Amino his idea for Sugar V. Sugar B, not Sugar V, that. It is Sugar V. Um, Hold on. So, Sugar V. I don't know why I got lost. Uh, Sugar V is the evolved form of Kel's power. So Kel's explained what his original superpower would be, and then Sugar V is that superpower cranked up to 11. So he did a amino post about like the super form of his power, and I posted a few comments, or at least one comment, where I had like questions about how his power worked, and since then he's like responded to that comment, and now I'm gonna look over that on stream, and then see how I feel about the answer to his questions. I have seen this, now that I'm looking at it. Also, Kel said, random question, what's your favorite fruit? Mine's pineapple. Then your boy Kirby spammed the pineapple emoji and said, pineapples? So what's my favorite fruit? That actually is a pretty good question. Um, I guess it's weird. Um, I like grapes with lemon juice on them, which is an interesting choice. But I also like the taste of when you eat apples and grapes at the same time. So the grapes with the lemon juice thing is kind of like a candy. What you end up with is like a sour outside and then like a sweet inside. And I like the flavor contrast. And then with the grapes and the apples put together, they're just two really different textures and flavors combined that I feel like are very like appealing. I don't have an exact way to describe it, but I do enjoy the taste of apple and grape at the same time. At the same time, I don't think apple grape juice mixed together is my favorite juice mix. A lot of times when I mix juices together with like soda, um, I like orange juice to be involved in some way. And I really do like orange and cranberry juice being mixed together with like apple juice and Sprite. That's pretty good. But I would say just straight up fruit, probably grapes with lemon juice or grapes with apples. I think that's pretty dope. Then Kirby said dragon fruit flavored water. Interesting. I'm not sure if I've ever had dragon fruit before. But Kels, um, let me see. I'm trying to see if I have any questions regarding the answers that you gave to the questions. Um, Anywhere within its range, and I imagine you already listed its range. 10 feet. Yeah, I feel like your questions were good. I mean, not your questions. Kels, I feel like the answers to my questions were good. I don't think I have any additional questions based off of that. So, Kels, I would like to thank you for those. I appreciate it. And I'm going to smash that heart button on your reply. That way, we'll both remember that I've like already read it, and it also shows that like I appreciate the response. I feel like you did a good job because reading back over the answers, I feel like I'm good. Like I feel like I get it. The rush attack thing, that doesn't involve pausing time, right? That would be my only other question because I know that JoJo can do this weird pause time thing where his like stand beats up on you and then time unpauses, right? So your thing isn't a pause time, right? It's just it does the flurry of punches and it hurts a lot because you know it's a super ghost stand or whatever. I don't understand JoJo too well because I haven't really watched a lot of JoJo. Also, I'd like to thank you all for watching. We have reached an hour on the stream. If you like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring that notification bell to be notified when we do these live streams. This is Roast, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with Kels, Kirby Ultra Star, Birdman, Dragon Ball Superfan 1010, Rocky Ford, JV Dones, aka Dozer. Also, stay tuned because we got the fan poll stream coming up right after this. Make sure that you vote in the fan poll for what you would like to watch next on the channel. You guys know what I want to play. Lego Worlds, Lego Worlds. In all honesty, I want to play Jump Force because I haven't got a lot of Jump Force like gameplay in. But I'm gonna be hanging out with Maddie tomorrow, and Maddie's never played Lego Worlds, and I really want her to try it. So if you guys are interested in seeing me and Maddie like play a game together, maybe vote for Lego Worlds. Maybe I can get her into playing Lego Worlds. It's a possibility. But yeah, thank you all for watching and stay tuned because like I said, fan poll stream's coming up right after this. This is your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, logging out.